the name indicates, it's an advisory tool from AWS. It is a web service. It is a service which is intended for helping customers with implementing best practices. And over the period, AWS as a organization, they have worked with different industry vertical, different customer, different scenarios. They've got exposure on various uh, gaps in terms of security and then performance enhancement and so on. So they have set some standards based on their exposure and experience. And this is something which they provide as a offering to help customers primarily to reduce the cost, okay, reduce or optimize the cost, and improve the performance, and then address any security related gaps which are there. And then there are cases where we might have to check the availability of certain services, and the services which are reaching the limits when it comes to like before any impact to your impact to your production, new resource creation. So this service limit will notify you if we are reaching the limit, or if there are any challenges with regards to that. So not limited to that, even if you are part of the cloud operations team, this helps you to fine tune how the operations can be handled better. So operations excellence is also one of the area that the trusted advisor continuously will evaluate and provide you guidance. So this is more or less a kind of guidance tool. So as the name indicates here, AWS wants the customer to get the maximum out of the investment that they are doing. So with AWS, there are different support plans as we had discussed earlier. So if you are a customer who are in just initial stages, so let's say testing, or if you're just doing some lab, or if you're doing some POC, you might be using the basic tier, or you might be using the free tier for some of the activities. So in such cases, you do get some of the trusted advisor checks that are part of this free tier plan, but you don't get all of them. So you get around 56 checks as part of the basic or free tier. But if you go to the next level, when your application is in development stage, and then you want to have some support in terms of the testing, or in terms of the application development, or user acceptance testing, or whatever, right? So system integration testing or system acceptance testing. So you might go and get the developer plan from AWS, and based on that developer plan, you will get a little more additional checks. But if you want to unlock all the potential checks, I mean, these number of checks increases as AWS comes across some customers use cases or scenarios. So they go ahead and add as many checks which are essential for the customer. So if you go for the business plan, or the enterprise on ramp plan, or the enterprise plan, enterprise agreement, so you get all complete set of checks. So totally, like, I think the if you just include this 56, I think total of somewhere around 500 is what I recall. Maybe like exactly, I think 482 checks is what we generally get. And sometimes it might have reached 500 also. We can double check on those numbers. So these are the kind of number of checks that we get access to as part of our subscription or support plan. So if you are wondering like where exactly we can get those, so if you go to your account, or if you go to the billing and cost management, or if you go to your account screen, you will get to understand what is the current plan we have subscribed to. And if you want to get more checks, you have to get that upgraded. So let me show you that. So you can go and type this support. Okay, so if you click on this support, the screen will have the details of our account details, account number, and what kind of current plan we are subscribed to. So if you look at here, currently I'm having my account in basic plan. If I want to change this, I can click on this, and it gives you the comparison screen where exactly you will get more benefits. So if you look at here, AWS Trusted Advisor recommendation, only couple of areas we are getting. So only the service quota limits or the core important security checks is what we are getting as part of the basic category. But then if you go to the next category, the developer category, that is also more or less the same because we are still in the development phase. But if you go to business or enterprise on ramp, you get the full set of checks. And besides that full set of checks, if you're going for the higher level plan, which is the enterprise plan, you get access to the priority console also. So there are certain very essential mandatory implementation that we might have to do. So those prioritized recommendations will also be available on the enterprise plan. If you log into the trusted advisor console, it also gives you trusted advisor priority section where it focus on the most important and must implement recommendation. So it provides both multiple aspects. So it's not just a tool to provide recommendation. On top of providing the recommendations, AWS also provides you the run book or the playbook. When I say the run book playbook, so you might have to follow certain steps to remediate the gap, remediate the fix that AWS is recommending. And in order to fix that, AWS provides you a automation runbook or playbook. If you just click on that playbook or the runbook link that they given, it will go ahead and fix the issue for you automatically. So you don't have to manually spend time to log into the console, follow certain steps. So this particular runbook has got step-by-step instructions, which will help you to go and automatically fix that particular issue. So this tool is not just a recommendation tool, it is also a tool where you get the details around what exactly is the gap and how do we overcome that, and also the steps involved in certain categories. If the remediation could be automated, they also provide you the run book or the playbook equivalent to go ahead and fix that particular issue. So overall, like this helps you increase the performance, improve the performance, and then improve the security posture of your environment, optimize the cost, and also it will improve the resilience and the availability of your services, plus the operational excellence. So there are many different categories. I will show you the different options that you're going to get. So if you log into the console, just go ahead and search for trusted advisor, or you can just click on this particular thing. Okay, this takes me to the pricing screen. Okay, so just console trusted advisor. So it says optimize performance, improve security, reduce cost. So there are five different sections within that. If you look at here, if you are in the basic plan, we might not be able to see that trusted advisor priority. But in support environment, if you log into your customer environment, if they have enterprise subscription, on the very top here you will see trusted advisor priority checks. So those priority gives you the mandatory recommendations that you have to go ahead and fix it without delay. So here overall you will see how many different actions that are needed, how many where investigation is needed, and there are certain checks which will be excluded. See, for the customer environment, not all the checks are applicable, right? So if you're using those services, then those checks are applicable for the customer. If you're not using that particular service, let's say a guard duty or a specific ECS, Elastic Container Service, or Lambda function. So if you're using it, you have to go ahead and align it with the best practices that AWS is recommending. So if there are no items or no services which are being consumed out of this list, then you can go ahead and ignore it. So there are certain actions which are recommended, which will come under this cross mark symbol, and then there are certain warnings you will get. And for example, you will also see certain checks which shows green check. Green check means it is already validated. So these are the core security check, right? So there are no public snapshots which are accessible from the internet. So it is marked as green. So that means like in my AWS account, I don't have any EBS Elastic Block storage snapshot, which are marked as public. Similarly, RDS and so on. So it also gives you the details of what kind of checks it will do, and then how much time it will take to refresh if you have done some remediation, or if there is some bugs or gaps, how much time it takes also will be listed here. And then what is the category, whether it is a red category or a green one or a warning one, it will also be listed here. So there are certain checks which will be marked as red, and then amber, and the green check. So based on the priority and importance of the check, it will have different sticks. So for example, here you can see they have mentioned what is the recommendation action that you can go ahead and do. Manually go ahead and select that EPS snapshot, and then if it is publicly accessible, you can just block the public access, and you can fix that particular recommendation. Or else, like, you can just click on this run book. So this run book will modify the EBS snapshot permission automatically using the systems manager automation console, and you don't have to go and manually do it. So there are multiple methods to do it. You can do a manual method, or you can create your own playbook if the actions could be automated. And in most of the case, AWS also does provide an automation option. So these are the 6 different categories that they provide recommendation. On top of it, if you're an enterprise customer, they also provide you the options for trusted advisor priority. So coming to the benefits, right? So the benefits, again, we already listed couple of points here. So it is going to help you with in ensuring that you are aligned with AWS well-architected reviews, well-architected best practices and standards. And also, okay, I would say we are aligning with AWS well-architected setup. And maybe I'll just say well-architected framework. So if there is some gap that it identifies, it will give you the details. So identify the gaps or the deviations from AWS standard, and we get the recommendation and then the recommended actions to remediate. And if you are a enterprise customer, you also get the trusted advisor priority option. So it also gives you different color coding. So based on that, you can prioritize which recommendations to action first, and which ones we can deploy it later. So it depends on how important is that particular service for the business. So if we are using that particular service for a very business critical application or mission critical application, we have to implement it immediately. And based on the criticality of the apps, the urgency of the recommendation, we can go ahead and immediately create an expedited change and implement it. Or else if it is not going to be so not for some customer, like the applications where this particular service is being used might not be that critical, but still we have to plan for it and implement it as per the change practice. And if you go and implement something expedited way, so they will ask for justification. The change manager, the technical advisory board, the cab, the change advisory board, they will ask for more details and justification. So you have to provide where exactly is the impact, and why we need to consider this as a business priority change, the expected change, and they will approve it. And this, if you're following the trusted advisor recommendations and applying it, your organization will also be streamlined, right? Or um, whatever the other organizations are following the same kind of uh, a policy or whatever. If you have multiple different number of accounts, maybe some sub organization might be having 10 AWS account, and maybe the main organization might be using some 5 AWS account, and so on. So if you have some standards, if you have this alignment across all the AWS account, it gives you the streamline, what you call the standardization across all your AWS account. So even if you are using AWS organizations or the AWS control tower kind of features, it gives you complete visibility, monitoring, and tracking of all the recommendations across all the AWS account from one single console. So also, like, you can optimize your AWS resources, not just limited to performance or not just limited to resiliency or availability. So optimization is available across multiple areas: performance, service limit, availability, resiliency, and this has automation as well. So you can use automated run book. So as I showed you a link here, if you just you have to click on that link, automatically it will tell you which services has to be remediated, and you can check the list of services, and it will go ahead and implement it for you. So you can see the run book details. So there are many such run book for many different services. If there is a issue with your snapshots, or if you have some activity to perform, deregistering of AMIs in a routine way. So there are many different automation run books that are available native from AWS. So these run books could be used as part of the trusted advisor checks. If you just run, if you want to run this automation, you can just click on that particular link. It will take you to the systems manager console, and it will take you to the particular region where you want to execute it. And this will tell you whether any particular snapshots are available to be fixed. So if there is no, it will throw up an error. But if you want to select certain EBS snapshot and execute it, you don't have to do one by one, right? If you have 10 different or 20 different or 100 different EBS snapshots which needs to be fixed, this runbook automation tool could be used. Even not just for the trusted advisor, even if there is some potential issues, like if you want to, there was a CrowdStrike related issue a couple of months back. So if you want to apply that fixes across multiple different resources, hundreds of instances or hundreds of servers, you can use this systems manager runbook console to go ahead and do certain activity across all those instances. So AWS does provide native automation runbook, which you could use for remediating many different recommendations that AWS provides. So coming to the use cases, right? There are many different use cases. So I've already listed some of the use cases here. It is going to be mm, the very first one is the cost optimization. Okay, I'll come to the cost optimization category in details. So this optimizes or customer want to reduce the cost. That is the primary thing that they look at from things. So here at a very high level, I can just give you some examples. Cost optimization. So there are around 20 plus checks, approximately 21 or something like that. But so these are the example checks that I could help you to understand what exactly this comes with. Okay, so it will go and identify the unused resources at a very high level, identify unused resources or opportunities to reduce cost wherever possible, and it completely assess the environment for potential downgrade or right sizing or right choice. See, when I say right choice, let's say we have chosen on demand for a particular instance. Maybe it might be better if you go for a reserved instance, or it might be better if you go for savings plan, or right. You can continuously take actions to optimize the um, environment to get the best out of the investment. So if you look at here, it will tell you like these EC2 instances are low utilized, and based on the consumption, it says like only 10% of the capacity is being used. So what we can do is we can downgrade the instance size, so that way the cost could be reduced. Similarly, it will tell you the list of load balances which are currently unused in your environment, and we can go and do all the due diligence checks as a custom, as a service provider. if you're working for an intermediate organization, not AWS and not customer and service provider organization, you can also go ahead and do some checks to identify, to check the CloudWatch monitoring data, the logs, to identify if historically there was some usage in this load balancer before going and cleaning it up. So it is applicable for every service, right? So any product that before you decommission, you have to take a full snapshot, full backup, and then do all the checks, and then go ahead and put it into the cool down period for a couple of weeks, and then go ahead and decommission it. So it will also tell you which are the EBS volumes which are underutilized, unassociated elastic IP address that are costing you at the account level. So there are many different checks like for underutilization, unused category, and it will also tell you these resources are running for a very long time and it has got consistent usage. So if you go for savings plan, it will tell you like maybe 50% or 30%, whatever um, cost benefit it is going to bring in. Similarly, reserved instances, you can convert the on-demand instances to reserved instances. And see, if you look at these two categories, in many of the customer environment, I've seen this issue actually. So if Lambda or step function or any similar serverless category products and services experiences errors or issues, what will happen is it will start continuously running in a loop. Okay, so that continuous running, that continuous execution of that particular function will end up a lot of cost for the customer. So I've seen lakhs of rupees coming as a bill because of the lambda errors or the step functions. The serverless is a category where we have to be very very careful. See, I told you in auto scaling category also, right? So AWS can continuously spun up as many number of instances of virtual machine for the business application need. If there is a error or if there is any particular logic failure on your lambda function or EC2 instances, it is going to continuously create more resources, or it is going to continuously run that function in loop. So that if you are consuming memory and if you are consuming the runtime and compute resources and so on, the bill is going to increase. I've seen people miss the alerts or errors during the weekend, and this lambda function will continuously run for 3-4 days. And if it is running for 1 minute or 2 minutes, then the cost is very less. But instead of the lambda function executing its job, if it ends up with the error or if it ends up with some permission issues or something, this will continuously run. Okay, so we need to have a closer look on these areas. So that is the reason AWS has added this into the cost optimization checks. If the lambda function is not executing, or there is a timeout, or if there is an error, not just limited to lambda, right? Even the other step functions and other serverless categories, AWS does provide you those details. Even the same for the Route 53 DNS records and multiple other stuffs. Okay, so these are some of the example checks. These are not the complete checks. There are around 20 plus checks that are there, and AWS continuously adds that particular list for enhancing the customer environment and reduce the cost for the customer. So mainly like unused resources, and then plan change. When I say plan change on the purchasing options, you can change from on demand to reserved instance or savings plan and spot instance or whatever based on the workload category. And similarly, if something is over provisioned, this will go and help you. And even if there is any errors or continuous issues, timeouts and so on, so AWS trusted advisor is going to recommend what you have to take as an action in order. So whatever the checks I told you, right? All those checks will be listed here. And you can also download the report. And if you want to work with the customer counterparts from the business or application aspect, so all those checks could be downloaded into a Excel report or a PDF report, and you can talk to them, you can discuss, you can collaborate with the respective stakeholders and fix those gaps. Okay, so you can also configure the notification for specific aspects. If you want to send notification to operations team or billing team or security team, because in some organization, cloud security will be a separate tower, cloud operations will be a separate tower, FinOps will be a separate tower. So if you have different teams, different PDL, public distribution list, for certain categories, you can also go ahead and configure that contacts. So that way they will receive the relevant alerts if there is issue with operations category. For example, if the audit log is not enabled, or if the flow logs are not enabled, it is going to be very tough for the operations team to troubleshoot later, right? So that's where the proper logging and proper notification, and then the tracing for your application is not enabled with CloudWatch X-ray tool, and these are the kind of stuffs that it will alert you if there is no proper monitoring or logging or proper configuration that is done for the operations perspective. So because operations teams heavily rely upon the insights, monitoring data, the logging data, and even the configurations that we do, certain parameters and extra detailed monitoring or enhanced monitoring might be useful for regular operations, and even for some problem management or different aspect. So these are the categories that it will guide you. So there are in some cases, like operational excellence category might have 40 checks, close to that. So there are around, as I said, close to 500 checks that are available in Trusted Advisor, which can help you to implement the best practices and standards across 6 different pillars. Okay, let me also see if I have something on the slide. So this is how you will get the report. So the report will be across these categories, 6 categories, and then you will get these different symbols on each of the recommendations. So as I showed you here, so you will see that symbol on the very left here. If the rule has been evaluated, you will see a green check, or you will see a um, red error, or you will see a warning action recommended. And if there are no problems detected, so you will see 3 different green options for each of these services. And if there is some investigation that is needed before you go ahead and implement certain recommendations, remediation steps, it will also show you the warning. So that way, as a customer, we have to go ahead and do some checks if it is a warning symbol, like what we see here. And if it is a kind of exclamation within the circle, you have to go ahead and do the action as soon as possible. So this is how you will see the overall report, like for each of the categories: cost optimization, performance, security, and fault tolerance. You will see the overall count, what are the different warning levels we have got, what are the areas where we are already configured in the right way. So green checks means there are no actions needed. So the stuffs are already configured as per the recommended requirements. See, if you look at the utilization, there is no EC2 instances that are showing high utilization. Everything is performing as per the configuration requirement. And similarly, if there are some idle load balancers or unassociated elastic IP address or underutilized load balancers or EBS volume, so this will help us to go ahead and do some investigation. So anything within the triangle, right, the warning, investigation has to be done, then only action has to be taken. So for the ones where there is a circle and exclamation symbol, so this is something where we have to go ahead and action it, because they are saying there are security groups which are showing unrestricted access. It might be open to public on a particular port, which is very vulnerable or risky. So CloudTrail logging is not enabled. That is again a very risky item. Amazon EBS snapshot might be open to public, or we might not have configured backup or snapshot on a regular basis. And then if EC2 instances are not properly load balanced across availability zone, it might be 2 instances might be created, but both of them might be running on the same data center, same availability zone, which is again a risk for high availability resiliency for your environment, right? So this will give you different color code. So based on the color code, the green ones, no action needed, because already things are in place as per the AWS best practices and standard. So for the warning, the triangle exclamation, the amber one, we have to perform some investigation and find out whether it is really a um, uh, positive alarm to go ahead and action it. And the red ones are stuffs where actions are immediately needed. So Trusted Advisor is a kind of virtual consultant tool. It is a web service which automatically goes and scans and assess your environment across multiple different areas, like 6 different areas, and multiple different checks are done across IAM, DNS, load balancer, and whatever services, and it provides you the list of recommendation. So cost optimization, this is just an example where it will tell you like how many load balancers are idle out of on your account, how many EC2 instances are having low average daily utilization, where you can go ahead and downgrade it, right sizes to save the cost. Similarly, if there is unassociated elastic IP address that has been reserved and kept idle, so you can go ahead and disassociate, no, not disassociate, you can go ahead and release those IP address to save the cost, and it will give you similar checks across stuffs, and then it will also tell you how much dollar you can save. See, on the home console itself, it will tell you if you're go ahead and implement these recommendation, potentially you are going to save $7,000, something like that. It will give you the numbers also. If you're going ahead and implementing this 18 cost optimization checks, which trusted advisor has identified, this will also give all the detailed checks, and then for each of the recommendations, remediations, what kind of dollar value it is going to save. So you can also present it to the business owner during the weekly governance or monthly governance, so that way they understand the importance of implementing it immediately. So this gives you the numbers also for each of the remediation. If you go ahead and implement this, what is the dollar value that you are going to realize for that particular recommendation. Similarly, on the security, performance, cost, also it will give you the different categories like this, what you are seeing on the console. And this is the monthly potential savings if you're going and implementing this particular action, and if you're going and investigating and implementing, so what is the kind of dollar value you are going to get. So this is what I was telling you. Some of the recommendations will also have a run book. Some of them will tell you what is the action you have to go and take. You have to go and take the snapshot and then delete the volume which are unattached, so that you can save the cost. So it is also giving you the dollar value here for each of the subcategory also. For example, if you are cleaning up this unattached volume, what is the $1 is something we are going to get. So if you are cleaning up this particular volume which is unattached, so you are going to get around $1.7, close to $2. So that is also available at the detailed individual resource level, and even at the service level. Even it has got the category for overall cost optimization to identify overall how much we are going to save if you are doing this particular activity. So underutilized Amazon EBS volume, if you're going and downsizing it, or if you're going and removing it, you're going to save around $87 for the 49 EBS volume that are being identified, or 48 EBS volume that has been identified as a potential area to go ahead and improvise it. So there are certain run books and tools you might get. uh, Let me show you. So this will also give you different grouping across cost, availability, security, service limit, and so on. This will also give you the number, and it will also give you the run book on certain stuff. Okay. So this is all about trusted advisor. Trusted advisor is a very good tool from AWS, and based on your support plan, you will get access to the different number of checks, and you can pretty much spend time with this. So most of the organization, they will spend a time on this as a separate project, because if you want to do the implementations, it needs additional effort and time. So it's not a regular routine operational activity. But if your operations team has bandwidth, they can go ahead and implement all these stuffs, because definitely this needs a lot of time to create change requests, talk to the business owner, get the approval. That is the major challenge that we come across, right? When we want to implement something, we have to prepare the document, provide the justifications, get approval from the stakeholders, business owner, application owner, and we have to find out whether there is a change freeze. Similarly, now maybe the next couple of months there will be a lot of change freeze, right, because of the year end and the holiday times coming in across the world. So you might see a lot of change freeze getting applicable. So you might have to execute it prior to that period, or you have to wait until that change freeze is getting closed. So a lot of time will be spent on collaboration, communication, discussions, approvals, and all those things. So that is where some project effort might have to be factored, and you can implement all these stuff as a separate project or non-standard service request, so that you can cross charge the customer for whatever benefits you are bringing in, or the value add that we are going to get out of this implementation. So for all your customers, recommend using this trusted advisor tool. This is, I will say, this is a personal cloud expert or a virtual assistant for each of your account. Virtual assistant or web service online tool that provides you the best practices after inspecting and assessing the environment. A lot of customers have realized a lot of huge cost savings. It is a real-time assistance tool. It doesn't take a lot of time to show you the best practices. Once after it does the scanning and checks, it provides all the optimization areas, and you can, after post implementation, it will be updated immediately. So as I told you, there are three different groupings or categories. So the red ones, right? Uh, the no problem detected is a green check within the circle, and investigation recommended. So you cannot go ahead and directly implement it. So you have to orange or amber exclamation. This is a warning. So where we have to investigate and then implement. The next one is action immediately recommended. So implementation immediately, recommendation, red exclamation. It's a error kind of thing. It's a kind of important steps to implement it. Hope this is clear. This is widely used by the DevOps engineers, the operations team, the organization, business stakeholders, everyone utilizes this. And if there is any gap, shortfalls, deviations against AWS listed best practices, standards, and well architected framework, we are going to get that at a very detailed level. And based on that, we can go ahead and implement it to achieve the best out of the AWS services. Okay, so with that, we will move on to the second topic for today. I'll give you 2 minutes to think and ask for any questions on these areas on the trusted advisor tool. Okay. Okay, I will move on to the next topic. Is my audio okay? Shall we continue with the second topic?
Yes, Dan,
Sure, sure.
it's all good.
Thank you. So let's start with Amazon Inspector. Let me just close this.